In this video, I'll show you the ultimate settings for the Electro-Voice RE20 and the RodeCaster Pro II. So stick around right the way through to the end so we can hear the improvements made to this microphone just by tweaking a few settings on your RodeCaster Pro II.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy. It sound right, boy.
Now, before I even get into the settings on the RodeCaster Pro II, I will say a few words about this microphone. This microphone I have recently put into my studio chain, and I love it. Just as it comes right outside the box with a simple attachment for a boom arm, it works supremely well. In fact, so much so, I've thrown out my old condenser and I'm now working on this dynamic microphone. So what do I really like about it? Well, you're presently hearing it naturally without much processing from the RodeCaster Pro II. And it sounds pretty good. It's got FM quality broadcast sound, so great for podcasting, YouTubing, online creation. It's also got these grates around it, which I discovered are to help with someone who goes off microphone a lot. So if you've got a guest who goes over here and over there and over here and all of that, it helps with the proximity effect and to keep those frequencies in the voice that you'd otherwise lose when people go off mic. So that's another really good feature. Now, one caveat to this mic is it's super sensitive. So the shorter your cable run on the microphone, the better. Meaning, if you can have a very short XLR between this and the actual RodeCaster Pro II, that is a benefit. If you're running it through boom arms and round the back of your setup, round a load of electrical outlets, you are probably going to pick up a little bit of hum. It may not be noticeable to everyone, but if you're doing voiceovers on this, definitely watch out for that. With that all said, let's hop into the RodeCaster Pro II and take a look at exactly what's going on with this microphone. So I'm going to just go ahead now and show you exactly what I got going on here. I'm in on channel 4 at the moment for this microphone, and you'll see that it's actually selected as a pod mic, which in fact is incorrect. So I immediately need to swipe that across to dynamic. When I do that, it will select a dynamic microphone as my thing. Now, it will take a few seconds just to recognize it's a dynamic and change the sound, and you might hear the sounds changed a little bit. Now I can go ahead and look at this volume bar and just make sure my audio is well within that green railway track. It is. I could probably push this up a few dB like so. 50 dB still gives me a nice range and I'm going nowhere near the red. So I'm going to stay at 50 dB on the dynamic microphone setting. So with all that done, we've got a pretty good basic processing rack. You'll see that RodeCaster adds depth, sparkle, and punch. And of course I can select any of these and increase them. So I've got more depth, more kind of bass to my voice, or I can reduce that right down and I kind of roll off the low end there. The sparkle, of course, is, well, the opposite to the depth. It's adding a little bit of extra high end or taking it away and making my voice very flat. So again, I'll leave that at default. And then you've got punch over here. Up here, it's nice and big and boomy and punchy. And down here, it's softer, easier spoken. Say if you're doing a podcast where you don't need to sound like a radio host, you might want to back that off a little bit. With all of that said, that's pretty great, but we're here for the real advanced stuff, and I can go into there by simply clicking over to Advanced, and now I get all of my advanced effects that I can really place on this microphone, including, of course, let's start with the high-pass filter, which is the ability to roll off low-end frequencies in this microphone. This microphone is really good, but I can, of course, increase that frequency, and you'll hear a lot of the bass in my voice drop off, and then I can put it back down again, and you've got lots of boomy bass, especially when I go right the way down. So a good place to set this as a starting point is around the 65 or 66 hertz frequency range. That's what I'd say is pretty good for the high-pass filter. Now, if we're looking at the De-Esser, you'll see that as I say things, it's coming in pretty well and everything is working pretty perfectly there. So I'd leave it pretty much as is. And you can see every time I say an S word, that red highlight is coming up on the De-Esser and doing its job perfectly. Now, just to be sure that's right, we can click frequency here and we can just play with that while we say she sells seashells or something like that. She sells seashells, seashell, seashell, shell, shell, seashell. Okay, and we'll see where that peak is the biggest. So right about where it was there, let's bring that back to where it was. Hello. We're going to stick at around about, sticking at 4,000 hertz seems like the best place. Around 4,000 hertz for my voice is pretty good on the De-Esser. So not much to change there. Noise gate is pretty good. I'm really happy with the way this is set up. If we've got a quiet room, we can leave it as it is. But if your room is a little noisier, you might want to click on threshold over here, and see that's already selected, so we're working with threshold there, and I can bring that down, and that gives me a very true sound without any noise gate whatsoever on the mic. If I bring it up, you'll hear, oh, it's trying to quieten me down quite a lot, so we need to go somewhere in between. Around the minus 24 dB is a good place to have it for the Electro-Voice. But as it's such a great microphone that reduces a lot of the noise already, we don't need to go too crazy on a noise gate here. Let's go across now and look at the compressor. We've already got a bit of compression, a bit of gain reduction going on. Ratio is 2:1, that's pretty nice. I might increase that just a little bit, so let's go on the ratio and maybe nudge that up to 3:1 to get like a nicer ratio there, bit of punchier kind of processing on my microphone. If I still want it punchier further, I can reduce that threshold down a little bit more, so I'm getting more gain reduction. That's probably a little too much. Minus 35 is about the lowest I'd go on the compressor there. And we got equalizer. We've already got a nice EQ curve on here. We can, of course, if we want it crispier, turn up the high gain there, and we get that sparkle added on, as we did with the basic effects from the RodeCaster. But notice too much adds in a bit more sibilance, so I'll just back that off a tiny bit. Mid-gain, again, sounding pretty good. We can boost this right up and hear what frequency it's working on, and we might choose to move that along and actually work on a higher end frequency, so somewhere around the 1500 mark, and then just bring that down a little bit and keep it boosted by maybe about a decibel or decibel and a half, and that gives a real vocal presence there. The low bell is pretty good. I mean, again, we could use this here just to work on the low-end frequencies by boosting them up and then maybe pushing that low bell up a little bit, so we work on the higher-end low frequencies and just boost that by a couple of dB. And now I think we've got what is sounding like a pretty decent microphone. Got the exciter here, the big bottom and the oral exciter. They seem to be set pretty well for this wonderful microphone. And we've also got panning, which we don't really need as well. So once we're pretty happy with the setup, we've done enough setting up there on the RodeCaster Pro II. As long as we have selected a dynamic microphone, we've made sure that the frequency of our voice, the amplitude of our voice is falling right within the railway tracks when we're setting up the initial volume gain. Then we can go through and tweak those advanced settings to our heart's desire. But I really think this microphone is so good that it really doesn't need that much processing on it to start with. And it's great for podcasting, for YouTubing, online creation. What I really like is I can actually put it right down there out the way and have it pick up my voice nice and clearly. So it's much better than having like a condenser mic right in front of my face. I'm feeling much more comfortable with this kind of setup. And of course, because it's a dynamic microphone, the gain is not so high on it, but the high-end Revolution preamps on the RodeCaster Pro II really do a great job of boosting up the signal, so no need for analog gear like anything like a DBX or one of those beautiful things like the Cloud Lifter that you would have plugged in the olden days when you're working a little more analog. Here, it's all digital, it's a very clean signal, and I really like it. So I hope this has helped you figure out the Electro-Voice RE20 settings for your RodeCaster Pro II, and do feel free to post any questions you have in the comments down below.
If you've not done so already, check out musicradiocreative.com. This is where my team of 200 plus audio professionals can help you with voiceovers, radio jingles, DJ drops, podcast intros, music, ads, and much, much more.
Thumbs up, subscribe for more. musicradiocreative.com